Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the Hungarian election, or more importantly, the return of the government of Viktor Orban, and then of course Mr Orban returning as the Prime Minister of Hungary. So let's just have a little look at that and have a bit of a drill down and a dive into some of the issues around it. Now, Mr Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, is hated by the globalists. He just won't allow the globalist project to penetrate into Hungary, and this is why they hate him. In terms of his administrative qualities and the government, in terms of the hopelessly corrupt East European governments, particularly the Southeast European governments, Hungary is pretty sort of clean in the overall scheme of things, and reasonably well run, given the standards in that Eastern Europe bloc, being of course the former Soviet bloc, where corruption was rampant and free markets didn't exist and so on. Now, the way that the globalists penetrate any nation state is they take control of the media, and they've got this steady stream of propaganda about climate change, race, they race baiting and gender baiting and all this sort of stuff. The society is awash with wife beating rapists. Similarly, society is awash with evil racists who are all Hitlers and Nazis and fascists and so on. And this is how they divide society. Now, they also, what the globalists do is they create and invent victims, and then demand that social equity requires that everyone else has to adjust their behaviour to suit these ideologically created victims. This is how they divide society and weaken it and undermine it and crush it generally. So this is something that they practice all over the West, quite successful. They penetrate the educational institutions. NGOs run rampant, planting activists all over academia and in government departments and so on. That's the globalist gig, and it's something they've done all across the West and done. Let's give them, I don't know, credit's the right word, but let's not sell them short. They've been very successful in destroying, disrupting, undermining Western society, and if that was their intention, it must be, then they've done a pretty good job of it. There's barely a Western society now that has much at all in the way of social cohesion. The forced immigration of black and brown peasants from the third world. This is again very much part of a globalist gig. So they bring in all these millions of black and brown peasants, then accuse all the white people of being Nazis when they didn't vote for it, they didn't ask for it. There was no referendum or anything like that. But if you don't like what's happening, you're a damn Nazi Hitler. So Orban has resisted these things, and when some NGO tries to do a gay lesbian course in university, Orban says, "Well, hold on a minute." Or the government, Mr. Orban's government says, "You can do that if you want, but it's not going to be at the expense of the state. So you're not going to be able to get the government to pay for it if you want to have this gay lesbian gender studies type bullshit at university." And no NGO is allowed to operate in Hungary if they're going to be political activists. If they want to be a charitable group, fine, no problem, go ahead and do it. But if they want to be politically activist, deliberately trying to bring in black and brown peasants, deliberately trying to create race and social division, trying to create these ideological victims, to put stresses and pressures elsewhere in society, and so deliberately importing agitators to stir the place. They won't do it, or the Orban government says, no, you can't do that. Similarly, the globalists take over the media establishment, so they're all pumping out globalist propaganda 24/7. I mean, look at the problem. It's hard. Any of the mainstream channels in either Australia or Britain or the United States, Canada, Western Europe. It's globalist propaganda, globalist talking points, top to bottom, left to right, non-stop, 24/7. Now, Orban won't allow that. The media has to be independent, and if it's going to trash the government, which you can do, it also has to give the government's point of view or the government's response. So it's quite balanced in that sense, far better than anything we're getting in the West. So this is what Orban won't allow, and this is what drives the globalists insane with annoyance, because they just can't get their hands on it. Because in the West they control all the institutions and they control the media. NGOs are stirring the place up all over. Orban won't allow any of that. Now, if the Hungarian people don't like what he's doing, and they're free to, it's a free election, they're free to express that in the ballot box. Unlike in some other countries that claim to be democracies, where the elections are very uncertain in terms of their probity. But Orban's won, and I think the Hungarian people have said, look, we don't want these globalists coming in here and making a mess of our place. And so they've returned Viktor Orban to government, and his policies can continue. Now, he's got a number of policies. He's saying, well, rather than import people into Hungary, and they do bring some people in, it's not like there's a total ban on people coming. Whoever comes in must commit to being Hungarian, to speak Hungarian, to follow Hungarian customs and so on, and obviously follow Hungarian laws, and they must have some sort of skills or capabilities that are needed in the Hungarian economy. That's all. And if you tick those boxes, and you want to apply for Hungarian citizenship, emigrate to Hungary, then you can do so. Nothing's stopping you doing it. Nothing's stopping you doing it at all. However, if you're some black or brown peasant who just wants to free ride, freeload off the Hungarian taxpayer, and you've got nothing to offer, and all you want to do is run around accusing everyone else of being a racist or a Nazi, then you're not welcome in Hungary. And there is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. So we can only hope that that Mr Orban's government continues as it has, and that there's more of those countries around Eastern Europe, Poland, for example, that follow that same path that Mr Orban has. And he's encouraging local families to procreate and to marry and stay married, which is unlike the West, where they virtually scream at women saying, divorce your husband. But that Mr Orban's government is certainly encouraging marriage, procreation, and people staying together. And I cannot for the life of me see what's wrong with that. But yet, for doing these things, these perfectly sensible, reasonable things, the globalists in the EU and elsewhere, I mean, he's a Nazi, he's a fascist, he's this, he's that. What bullshit! What bullshit! He is representing the Hungarian people and their interests, which is what these Western politicians are doing. But instead, they've sold us out to the fucking globalists. So anyway, looking at the TV and newspapers and online, how do they present Mr Orban's electoral victory? I mean, do they? Oh well, yeah, he won. That's what the Hungarian people want, so that's fine. No. Close friend of evil Vladimir Putin wins uncertain election. I mean, it's got to be a dirty election. Not like some of those American elections. They're straight, nothing wrong with it. And if you even query it, you're in big trouble. But his election is dirty somehow because he's not a fucking globalist. So every one of the certainly the articles that I've read that he's far right, anti-immigration, hates gay people, crushing gay lesbians, probably eats them. Gay babies are torn to gay black babies, gay lesbian babies, torn to pieces. Of course, he's the way they depict him is absurd. There's not a good word to say about him. He's Putin's mate. He's in agreement with this. He's in agreement with Putin invading Ukraine. So the list just goes on, and he's far right, and Hitler's a moderate compared to him, and all this idiotic propaganda that's put out. I mean, you can see why Orban doesn't want those idiots having control of the Hungarian media, and who can blame him? You've been with Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.